She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're just the black woman who cleans our floors." Little did she know, I held the keys to her husband's empire. By the time I was done, she went from penthouse queen to courtroom defendant. This is how I dismantled her world. Before we dive into this story of ultimate karma, hit that like button if you believe in justice, and subscribe because you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this gets wild. Let me paint you a picture of who I was 3 years ago. My name is Camille, and to everyone at the prestigious Meridian Tower, I was just the head of housekeeping. Every morning at 6 a.m., I'd walk through those marble lobbies in my uniform, pushing my cart, invisible to the billionaires who called this place home. And that's exactly how I wanted it. You see, what none of them knew was that I wasn't really there to clean their floors. I was there to clean house in a completely different way. I'm a forensic accountant, and for the past 3 years, I'd been working undercover for the FBI's white-collar crime division. My target, Jonathan Blackwell, tech mogul worth over $4 billion, living in the penthouse with his wife Victoria. We had solid intel that he was running one of the biggest tax evasion schemes in corporate history, but we needed someone on the inside to get the evidence that would stick. So there I was, the perfect fly on the wall, listening to their conversations, accessing their private spaces, building an airtight case, piece by piece. It was going perfectly. Jonathan trusted me, even seemed to respect my work ethic. But his wife Victoria, she was a different story entirely. Victoria Blackwell was everything you'd expect from a billionaire's trophy wife. Blonde, Botoxed, and absolutely convinced that her husband's money made her royalty. She treated everyone she considered beneath her like dirt. But she had a special kind of cruelty, reserved for people who looked like me. The incident that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night in March. Victoria was hosting one of her famous charity galas in their penthouse ballroom. 200 of the city's most powerful people were there. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders, everyone who mattered in high society. I was working the event, making sure everything ran smoothly behind the scenes. I was in the hallway, coordinating with the catering staff, when I overheard Victoria talking to her friend Natasha about some missing champagne glasses. Simple enough fix. I walked into the ballroom to let her know we'd found them in the kitchen. And that's when my entire world shifted. Victoria was standing in the center of a circle of about 15 people, all dressed in their designer gowns and $1,000 suits. I approached respectfully, waited for a pause in their conversation, and said, "Excuse me, Mrs. Blackwell, I wanted to let you know we found those missing champagne glasses." The way she turned to look at me, it was like I had personally offended her just by existing. And then she said the words that are burned into my memory forever. "I don't know why you think you can just interrupt a conversation between important people. You're just the black woman who cleans our floors. Know your place." The entire circle went dead silent. I'm talking about 15 of the most influential people in the city, and you could have heard a pin drop. Some of them looked uncomfortable, others just stared at their shoes, but not a single person said a word. Not one person stood up for basic human decency. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, felt every eye in that circle, watching to see how I would react. And in that moment, something inside me snapped, not just because of the racism, though that was devastating enough. It was the casual cruelty of it, the way she said it like I was nothing, like I didn't even deserve basic respect as a human being. I looked her dead in the eye, kept my voice steady, and said, "I apologize for the interruption, Mrs. Blackwell. It won't happen again." Then I turned and walked away. But as I left that room, I made a promise to myself. Victoria Blackwell had no idea who she was really talking to, and she was about to find out in the most spectacular way possible. You see, up until that moment, my investigation into Jonathan was purely professional. I was doing my job, following the evidence, building a case. But Victoria had just made it personal. She didn't just insult me that night. She showed me exactly who she was, and more importantly, she had no clue who I was. That was her first mistake. Her second mistake was thinking that being married to a billionaire made her untouchable. But her biggest mistake, she never bothered to wonder why the cleaning lady always seemed to be around when the most important conversations were happening. After that night, everything changed for me. The humiliation Victoria put me through lit a fire that turned my professional investigation into something much more personal. I wasn't just building a case anymore. I was on a mission to expose every single dirty secret this family was hiding. My days took on a strange double life. During the morning hours, I'd be pushing my cleaning cart through the penthouse, dusting furniture, and emptying trash cans, while Victoria treated me like I was invisible. But what she didn't realize was that being invisible was exactly what I needed. Every casual conversation she had with Jonathan, every phone call she took in front of me, every document she left carelessly on the counter, it was all intelligence I was gathering. The beauty of my position was that rich people talk around service workers like we don't exist. They'd discuss their most sensitive business dealings right in front of me, completely forgetting I had ears. Jonathan would take calls from his accountants while I was vacuuming his office, talking about offshore accounts and shell companies like I was a piece of furniture. Within weeks of Victoria's public humiliation, I hit the jackpot. Hidden in Jonathan's private study, behind what looked like a bookshelf, I found a safe. Now, cracking safes isn't exactly in the FBI housekeeping manual, but 3 years of undercover work teaches you some unconventional skills. Inside that safe was a treasure trove of evidence that made our original tax evasion case look like small potatoes. We're talking about offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands worth $2.8 billion, bank statements showing systematic money laundering through a network of shell companies. But here's where it gets really interesting. Victoria wasn't just the oblivious trophy wife I thought she was. She was running her own criminal enterprise right under everyone's nose. Those charity galas she hosted, pure fraud. The Children's Hope Foundation that she claimed was so close to her heart, she was stealing from it. Donations meant to feed hungry kids and provide education to underprivileged children were being funneled into her personal accounts. We're talking about millions of dollars stolen from people who thought they were helping children in need. But it gets worse. Victoria had a whole network of accomplices. Her best friend, Natasha Pemberton, who owned that trendy art gallery downtown, was laundering money through fake art sales. Jonathan's business partner, David Sterling, was moving dirty money through real estate investments. The charity gala I was humiliated at, it wasn't just a party. It was a criminal conspiracy meeting, disguised as high society philanthropy. Every night after my shift, I'd go back to my real apartment and spend hours documenting everything. Photos of bank statements, audio recordings of their conversations, video evidence of money changing hands. I had hidden cameras, smaller than buttons, placed strategically throughout the penthouse. The FBI tech team had outdone themselves. We were capturing everything in high definition. The personal cost was eating at me, though. Victoria's racism wasn't a one-time thing. She made it her mission to remind me of my place every single day. She'd make comments about how I should be grateful for the opportunity to work for people like them. She fired 3 other Black employees during those months, completely fabricating reasons to get rid of them. Watching her destroy other people's livelihoods while I had to stay silent and maintain my cover was torture. But then I discovered something that made all the pain worth it. Victoria had been systematically targeting Black employees throughout the building, not just in their penthouse. She'd been pressuring building management to upgrade their staff with more suitable candidates. She was trying to ethnically cleanse the entire building's workforce, and she was succeeding. That's when I realized this case was bigger than just catching tax evaders. This was about stopping a woman who was using her wealth and privilege to hurt people who looked like me, people who couldn't fight back, people who needed their jobs and couldn't risk standing up to someone with her power. The FBI was ready to move on the financial crimes, but I convinced them to wait. I needed more time to document the full scope of Victoria's operation. Because when we finally took her down, I wanted to make sure she'd never be able to hurt anyone ever again. I had no idea that the perfect opportunity was about to present itself in the most poetic way possible. By February, I had enough evidence to put the entire Blackwell operation. FBI was getting antsy. They wanted to move immediately. But I asked for one more month, and I'll tell you exactly why. Victoria was planning something special for her 40th birthday in March, and I knew it would be the perfect stage for her final performance. She spent weeks bragging about this party, telling anyone who would listen that it was going to be the social event of the year. 300 guests, including the mayor, 2 federal judges, half the city council, and every A-list celebrity who owed Jonathan a favor. She rented out the entire penthouse floor and the ballroom below it. We're talking about a party that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. But here's what made it absolutely perfect for our purposes. Victoria was planning to announce a major expansion of her Children's Hope Foundation at this party. She was going to stand up in front of all those influential people and lie through her teeth about how much she cared about helping underprivileged kids. Meanwhile, she'd stolen over $3 million from donations meant for those same children. The irony was too beautiful to pass up. I convinced my FBI handler, Agent Rodriguez, that we should coordinate the raid to happen right during the party. Think about it. All of their co-conspirators would be in one place. All the evidence would be there, and we'd have 300 witnesses to their arrest. It would be impossible for them to claim innocence or play the victim when they were caught red-handed in front of the entire city's power structure. The week leading up to the party was intense. Victoria was more demanding than ever, screaming at staff about flower arrangements and demanding I personally polish every single piece of silverware. She made sure to remind me daily that I was lucky to be working such an important event, that I should be grateful she was allowing someone like me to be part of her special day. What she didn't know was that I was coordinating every detail with the FBI. My fellow agents would be positioned throughout the building, some as catering staff, others as security, a few even posing as guests. We had surveillance equipment recording everything, and arrest warrants ready for Jonathan, Victoria, David Sterling, and Natasha Pemberton. The night of March 15th finally arrived. The party was everything Victoria had promised, absolutely spectacular and completely over the top. Crystal chandeliers, a full orchestra, champagne that cost more per bottle than my monthly salary. Victoria was in her element, wearing a custom Valentino gown that probably cost more than a car, holding court like the queen she believed herself to be. I watched her work the room, accepting congratulations and praise for her charitable work, knowing that in less than an hour her entire world was going to collapse. The scheduling was perfect. She was set to give her big speech about the foundation at 9 p.m. The FBI was set to enter at 8:45. At 8:30, I was in the kitchen pretending to coordinate with catering when Agent Rodriguez's voice came through my earpiece. All units in position. Camille, you ready for this? I looked through the kitchen doors at Victoria, who was laughing with a group of socialites, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. More than ready, I whispered back. At exactly 8:45 p.m., the ballroom doors burst open. 20 FBI agents in full tactical gear flooded into the party, badges out, shouting for everyone to remain calm and stay where they were. The orchestra stopped mid-song. 300 of the city's most powerful people froze like deer in headlights. Victoria's face when she saw the agents was priceless, complete shock and confusion. But her expression changed to something else entirely when she saw me walk through those same doors, no longer in my housekeeping uniform, but wearing my FBI badge and a bulletproof vest with FEDERALAGENT written across the front. I'll never forget the moment our eyes met across that crowded ballroom. The woman who had called me just the black woman who cleans floors was staring at the federal agent who was about to destroy her life. The reckoning had finally arrived. The look on Victoria's face when she realized who I really was will stay with me forever. It was like watching someone's entire reality crumble in real time. Her mouth fell open, her champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor, and for the first time in 3 years, Victoria Blackwell was completely speechless. "Victoria Blackwell," I said, walking across that ballroom with my badge held high. "You're under arrest for charity fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit tax evasion." The entire room was dead silent, except for the sound of my footsteps echoing off those expensive marble tiles. 300 of the city's elite watched as I placed handcuffs on the woman who had humiliated me in front of their peers just months earlier. But that wasn't even the best part. As we led her away, Victoria finally found her voice and screamed, "This is impossible. You're just a cleaning lady. You can't do this to me." The irony was absolutely perfect. Even as federal agents were arresting her, she still couldn't accept that the woman she'd dismissed as just the black woman was the one who'd brought down her entire empire. Jonathan was arrested simultaneously in his office upstairs, where agents found him trying to delete files from his computer. David Sterling was taken into custody at his penthouse across town, and Natasha Pemberton was arrested at her art gallery as she was literally in the middle of a fake art sale to launder another $500,000. The media frenzy that followed was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Within hours, every major news outlet in the country was running the story. "Undercover FBI agent brings down billionaire's criminal empire" was plastered across headlines everywhere. But the story that really took off on social media wasn't just about the financial crimes. It was about Victoria's racism and how spectacularly it had backfired. Someone at the party had filmed Victoria's reaction when she saw me in my FBI gear, and that video went viral within hours. "Justice for Camille" started trending worldwide, with millions of people sharing stories about being underestimated because of their race. The video of Victoria screaming, "You're just a cleaning lady," while being led away in handcuffs became a symbol of how racism and privilege can blind people to their own destruction. The legal proceedings moved fast. With the mountain of evidence I'd gathered over 3 years, their lawyers couldn't negotiate their way out of anything. Jonathan was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and ordered to pay back taxes and penalties totaling over $800 million. Victoria got 8 years plus $25 million in restitution to the Children's Hope Foundation for the money she'd stolen from kids who needed it most. But here's where karma really showed her sense of humor: when the government seized their assets. And I'm talking about everything: the penthouse, the yacht, the private jets, even Victoria's designer shoe collection. It all went to public auction. And guess who was there with a winning bid on their $4.2 billion penthouse? That's right, I bought Victoria's home. The same woman who told me I was just there to clean floors now had to watch me become the owner of the place where she'd once been queen. I turned it into headquarters for the Camille Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting victims of workplace discrimination and helping underprivileged children get the education they deserve. The first event I hosted in that ballroom was a fundraiser for the Real Children's Hope Foundation, using the money we'd recovered from Victoria's theft. Standing at the same podium where she was supposed to give her fake charity speech, I addressed many of the same people who had watched her humiliate me. This time, they were applauding as I announced that we'd raised enough money to send 500 kids to college. 6 months later, I was promoted to senior special agent and received a commendation from the FBI director for my undercover work. But the real victory wasn't the promotion or the recognition. It was knowing that Victoria would spend the next 8 years thinking about how the woman she dismissed as just the black woman had dismantled her entire life piece by piece. Victoria learned the hard way that when you underestimate someone because of their race, you might just be looking at the person who holds your fate in their hands. And that, my friends, is how Victoria Blackwell learned that karma doesn't just knock on your door. Sometimes she kicks it down wearing an FBI badge. The woman who thought she could dismiss me as just the black woman who cleans floors discovered too late that I was actually the federal agent taking detailed notes on every crime she committed. You know what the most beautiful part of this whole story is? Victoria is sitting in a federal prison cell right now, probably still trying to figure out how the cleaning lady destroyed her billion-dollar empire. Meanwhile, every day I walk through the penthouse that used to be hers, the same floors she said I was only good enough to clean. And I run a foundation that's already helped over 2,000 kids get the education they deserve with the money she stole from them. If this story of justice served ice cold gave you chills, I need you to absolutely smash that like button right now. And listen, if you think karma stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that share button and send this to someone who needs to remember that you should never, ever judge a book by its cover. You never know if you're looking at the person who's about to change your life forever. Make sure you subscribe, because I've got more stories where entitled people get exactly what they deserve. And trust me, they just keep getting better. Drop a comment down below and tell me, have you ever been underestimated because of who you are? Have you ever had someone dismiss you only to watch them regret it later? I read every single comment, and your stories inspire me to keep sharing these moments when justice wins. Before you go, remember this: Victoria saw a black woman in a uniform and assumed she knew everything about me. She never bothered to look deeper, never wondered why I always seemed to be around during important conversations. Never questioned why the cleaning lady was so interested in the details of their business dealings. Her racism made her lazy, and her privilege made her careless. The truth is, we're all surrounded by people whose stories we don't know, whose capabilities we can't see, whose power we don't recognize. The person serving your coffee might be a PhD student. The janitor at your office might be a veteran who served our country. And sometimes, the woman cleaning your floors might be the federal agent who's about to bring down your criminal empire. So the next time you're tempted to dismiss someone based on what they look like or what job they're doing, remember Victoria Blackwell. Remember that respect costs nothing, but disrespect can cost everything. And remember that karma has a perfect memory and unlimited patience. Until next time, keep treating people with dignity, keep fighting for justice, and never forget that the most powerful person in the room might be the one you least expect. I'll see you in the next video, where we dive into another story of sweet, sweet karma. Peace out.